have the ones that don't have the tabs hung up separately. I don't know if I can bring that close enough.
In Pull Tab Archaeology, we ask people to send us pull tabs from all over the globe. However, meeting somebody who already has his own collection of pull tabs is very rare. Meet Evan Jaworski from Austin, Texas, United States. Not only has he been collecting pull tabs for several years, he also has his own pull tab t-shirt. When we asked Evan if we could do a video interview, he happily agreed. He will tell all about his collection and why he started collecting in the first place.
Yeah, I live in Austin, Texas. I'm 26. I'm a GIS specialist or a GIS analyst. I work with engineers making maps. I was thinking back. So I've always liked old things and like collecting old things. And I've liked to live around, like furnish my house with old things, like have old appliances. And I lived in an old school bus for a while, and I had it all decked out with like 1960s, 70s stuff. And I thought like, well, what if I had like more ephemera? Like 1960s, 70s, like trash almost. Like I had some bottles. I think it was like one day I was out at the park, like I picked up a pull tab, I think it was, and someone was like, oh, like, you know what that is? And that's how I found out what pull tabs were. Yeah, so I just kept finding them. And then when I was in college, I was living in a co-op house, and that's when I started stringing them together, just to kind of like have the collection together. That way they could all be in one place. I didn't lose them in different baggies, different piles around everywhere.
So you find pull tabs, but you also told me that you do not have a metal detector. You're not a metal detectorist. So how then do you find your pull tabs?
It's just picking them up off the ground, like washed out areas. Keep an eye out whenever I'm in like an older park. In 2018, I went to a park and found over 100. It was like 150, 200, all in a singular area in one park. And it was Pace Bend Park outside of Austin. And I researched the background of that park afterwards. Like, why would there be so many pull tabs to this like unassuming park in the bend of a river? And it used to be called a Paleface Park, where it was a big like university college student hangout spot back in the day. So that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
I've gone back a couple times, and yeah, it was like the same story, like a couple hundred, or maybe not a couple hundred, but like 100, 150. Just pick them up off the ground. That's how I find them all. It's like Central Austin, Festival Beach. I found, I don't know, it must be like 150, 200 there at least, probably more. But every time it rains, I can go back and find more. It's like things wash out more under the trees by the picnic tables, and there's just a whole new crop of them out there to pick up.
In your email, you wrote me that when you picked up your first pull tab, you also in a way stepped into a sort of a family tradition.
My dad had told me before that he was stationed he was in the Navy. He was at Corpus Christi at the Naval Air Station. And one of his jobs on base was to pick up trash around the yard. And he collected pull tabs back in the early 80s. And he said he'd made a big chain. It was like a spider web across his barrack ceiling. I wish I had that now, but yeah, he's not much of a collector, but he's good at finding things.
Yeah, exactly.
He's good at finding things. Very observant. And I think I got that from him for sure. So like hearing that from him was like, oh, okay, like these were just like everywhere back then. And then I started finding more of them and like going to different parks and different rivers, like Tube in the River. It's like, oh, like where we're picnicking, there's like pull tabs strewn on the ground. Yeah, so I just kept finding them, and then.
So it was your dad already who made chains, right? So is that also why you make chains?
Well, I guess from what I've seen of like the older chains, like they bend the tab around the next tab. I don't do that. Like I just string them like side by side. I don't know if I can pull this down. I wouldn't say that that's why I've made chains. I kind of like the aesthetic of it more than anything, but like I don't know if I can bring that close enough. I just like tie them side by side with the string going through. So the way I make chains in a way that I try to keep it non-destructive. Like I don't like to break them for the sake of breaking them. But,
and why is that? Why is that important?
I don't know. I mean, they're all older than I am, so like I'm not gonna. I can't just go and buy more if they're all broken. And I have broken a couple of them, just like trying to straighten them out. Um, and like the tab will break off, and so it's like they all seem pretty brittle.
Is that a way of, in a way, respectfully handling the materials?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's really an archaeological thought. But you're not an archaeologist, right? No, no, you're
Not really. I took an intro class in college. And I really liked. I liked. I guess I like using all of like anything I collect, like records, like old appliances, typewriters. I like using them for what they're intended to be used for, and like trying to keep them in good shape. And like, so they came to me through like a chain of people that had them before me, and if I can pass them on in the same condition that I got them, but still being able to use them, like, but it's nice to have like the original article in good condition. Like I can imagine somebody out there where I was in the park or wherever, just like having a good time with their friends or, you know, alone, whatever. And then just throwing the pull tab away, and then all that time in between where it got buried or people walked by, like just imagining like the life of this little object. And to know that it's like the same story for each one that I pick up, or a similar story that for each pull tab. And then thinking about the whole culture that created all of these things that are on the ground, like how it was acceptable to just like throw something away on the ground, and how it was so acceptable that there's still thousands and thousands and millions of them out there, that I can pick hundreds of them up just in washed out areas of a park, like just on the surface of washed out areas in parks. That like that's amazing. Like I found all of these in washed out areas of parks, and there's so many more. Like there has to be so many more, like in the same areas, that it's just, I find it hard to imagine that there's so much stuff out there. When I've talked to people about collecting them, like a lot of times they're surprised that there's still that many out there. Like, wow, you're finding like 100 at a park, like now, like that was 35, 40 years ago, at least. And they're still there. They're like intact. Yeah, that's crazy.
And my last question is, what are your hopes for the future of your collection?
Like, I like the idea. I want to try to be more archaeological with it, because it's interesting. Like before I ran across your website, it was like these were just interesting things that I know dated between like 1960 something and 1980 something. But now it's like, wow, somebody's taking this seriously. I can actually dig more into it, have more fun with the collection.
Thank you, Evan, for a lovely interview. And if you have been watching this video and thinking, hey, but I also have my own collection, then please let us know. We're always interested in meeting other people who make their own pull tab archaeology. That's all for now, and keep collecting those pull tabs.